So what is a profile? A role we already know yesterday. Role is the set of access rights. So where we'll give a where we create a role and giving all access to the role, and role will be assigned to the set of users so that all users would have the same access as what we expect. That is the role. Profile also a similar object, okay, which is a set of user parameters. When I say user parameters, okay, what all parameters we generally give at the time of user creation? What is his account ID, what is his default database, what is his pool space, temporary space. Okay, we give permanent space also, but here in the profile we cannot set the permanent space. But except permanent space, whatever parameters we give at the time of user creation, all are the parameters which we can set in the profile first, and then this profile can be aligned to the users so that every user will get the uniform properties of accounts, databases, spool space, temporary space, okay, and the password attributes. Okay, so we can ensure a group of users have the same parameters of the user by aligning them the same profile to all of them. Okay, so before we create a user for an application, what we do, we'll see what all parameters required for the users to work in this application. Okay, we'll set out all the parameters of the user. Okay, what should be his user ID, account ID, what should be his default database, and then first we create a profile with all these parameters. Once the profile is ready, and whenever a user enters the application, we'll align this profile to him so that he automatically gets all these properties assigned. So profile is to simplify the user management, because we have 100 users in this application. For all of them, at the time of user creation, we have given some 20 GB of spool space, for example. Okay, now after some time we felt 20 GB is very much high, we have to reduce to 10 GB. Now what shall I do if I don't create a profile? I have to go and modify each and every user in the Teradata admin or store procedure. Okay, I have to manually update his spool space to 10 GB. But if I have a profile and this profile has all the properties, and if I want to affect all the users at once, what is enough for me? I can go and modify this profile alone so that it will be impacted to all the 100 users with a single action. Okay, so it simplifies the user management. Okay. A change of common parameter requires an update of a profile instead of each individual user affected by the change. Okay, that is the advantage of the profiles. Okay. How do we manage the profiles? Okay, there are some DDL commands, data dictionary tables, views, macros, okay, to manage these profiles. Okay, we can create profile, the syntax, create profile. Okay, we have a modify profile, drop profile, select profile. And we have the data dictionary table dbc.profiles, which manages all the information in this data dictionary tables. Whenever you create a profile and align the parameters, everything is tracked in this database dictionary table called profiles. And there will be a view upon this table called dbc.profileInfo v version and x version, and a combination of vx version, so that you can get the information in a readable format and with some usable format. So this is the DBC view, what we generally use for profile purpose. Just a moment. Raj, we already done roles yesterday.
Yesterday we had a class?
Yes. I sent you the emails, right? I mean, I told you in the class also, actually. I think you miscalculated the timings. Is it?
Oh, you said we'll see you Monday, right?
I mean, I
That's
talking IST. Yeah, ISTs. Monday IST.
to Monday to.
Today is Tuesday here.
Oh, okay. Oh my God. I think I missed. It's
Yeah.
okay. Can you send me the recording, please?
Yeah, we'll see. I mean, if we have that, I'll send. Otherwise, anyway, we'll be joining the next sessions also, so we can cover those.
Okay. Yeah, I think. Yeah. Oh, okay. I think I missed it.
No problem. Okay. So these are the ways how we can manage the profiles, and we'll see how we'll implement the profile. Okay. To implement the profile concept in your application, first of all, what we need to have, the accesses. What type of accesses you should have? The create role access and the profile. The create profile access and the drop profile access you should have to your user ID so that you can create the profiles. Okay. By default, no user will have these accesses. Who has this access? Initially, when the Teradata is configured for our client, the DBC user will have these accesses by default. So this DBC has to provide the accesses to the sysdba or the super applications DBA with the grant option, so that the sysdba can grant the profile accesses to the individual application DBAs. Okay. So while sysdba granting to the individual application DBAs, we won't give with grant option. sysdba, when he is granting accesses to the individual application DBAs, he won't use the keyword with the grant option, because the application DBAs are supposed to create the profiles and administer the profiles and manage the profiles, but they are not supposed to grant this access to any other users. But when DBC grant the access to sysdba, it has to grant with the grant option, so that sysdba can grant these accesses to other application DBAs. And once we have the access, then we can apply the create profile command. Okay, so create profile with all the parameters what we want to set for the users group or community for an application. Okay. And after creation, if you want to do any modify, you can modify it. And once we are ready with the profile parameters, we can align them to the users. So we'll see how we generally create the profiles. Okay, so I logged on to the Teradata administrator as an admin, and now I want to implement the profiles in the application. So what I will do, again, the tools. Okay, so the tools menu is very much important for the administrator because everything is included here. Okay, so tools, create profile. Okay, and here let's create profile 1. Okay, what all parameters we can set? Account, default database, school space, temp space, and the password parameters. We'll see one by one. Okay, so account. Okay, first, okay, as we are doing the exercise, we'll see what is the default account ID and default database school space for the user what we have created, and you give different parameters here and see which one will affect when the user logs in. So what is the user we have created for our exercises? First user. Okay, let's see the properties of this first user. How we see? Tools, modify user will give you what all parameters he has. See, the default database is samples, account ID is high, and spool is 1 KB and 1 KB temp space. So these are the actual user parameters, and he is not assigned with any role and any profiles. Right? So these are the parameters. Remember, now we are trying to create a profile with some different parameters. tools, create profile, profile 1, account ID. He has high priority, so now I am creating a medium priority account ID with an constant expansion of daily tracking. Okay. Then the default database. Default database is samples for the first user, but here I will make it as retail. Spool space, currently first user has 1 KB, now I would like to have 2 MB. Temp space also 2 MB. And then comments, first profile. Okay, so first, once you give parameters, okay, and again we have one more tab here, passwords, right? Password, see the parameters here, expires in how many days. If you want to set 30, so for each 30 days he has to reset his password, otherwise it would expire. Okay. If you want to give a non-expiry password, just put a 0 there. It is non-expiry password. Minimum length, if we set 8, so the password length should be minimum 8 and maximum 12, like that you can set. Maximum number of wrong attempts, what he can do before logging in. If you set 5 times he can attempt the wrong passwords, and after the 5th time it will locked for the further logons. Okay. After lock, within how many days you should get it released. Okay, if he not release, if he didn't get it released within 3 days, the password will be expired. Well, like this you can set the parameters. So this is the maximum number of attempts before he log on with successful password. And after lock, that means after 5 times, suppose it locked, within how many days he has to get it released. If we didn't send a request to release it within 3 days and we didn't release it within 3 days as a DBA, the password will be expired, so it has to be again reset. Okay. And then reuse after how many times of the password. That means you might have seen last 3 passwords we cannot reuse, or last 6 passwords we cannot reuse. Like that we can set how many previous passwords we cannot reuse them as our current passwords. Let's suppose last 3 passwords we cannot reuse it. Okay. And then username. Can username be the password for the user or not? If I say yes.
Yeah, Manohar, what if none of the password can?
Yeah.
Yeah, none of the password can be reused. In that case, it should be 0.
No, if it is 0, then you can reuse. You can reuse the last password itself again by reset. Okay, here we have to give a number.
But none of the password can be reused. Okay, compulsory we have to give the number. Okay.
Yeah. You have to give an upper limit. If you have 100, then 100 times you cannot reuse. Okay. If it is 0, there is no restriction in the reusage. You can do it. Username. That means, can username can be used as a password? Generally, it is a restriction. We should not use our username as the password. If you put no, you cannot use username as your password. And then restrict words. There are some frequently used words which can be tracked easily or which can be trapped or guessed easily. So if there are such a words like your company name or the CEO name or some simple words which can be tracked easily, those words we can restrict them by inserting in a DBC restrict word tables. Okay, so there is a table which we can use as a restrict word parameters. If you insert those words into that DBC table and if you put a yes here, then no one can use the words in the table as their passwords. Okay, I will show you the table, restrict words. Okay, so what it is, if I put S here, whatever the words exist in the table cannot be used as your passwords. Okay, the restrict words table. Then digits. If you want to make a digit is mandatory in the password, put a S here. So digits will be mandatory. And if you want to restrict, the password should be having at least a single special character. You put a restriction here. Yes. Okay, if it's not required, no. Default is no. Okay. And accepts only Y and N and R. Only 3 characters it accepts. R means recommendation. It means we recommend, but we don't stop them. S means mandatory. No means not a restriction. Like that. All these would take only 3 possible characters, either R, Y, or N. If I press any other character, it won't take. Okay, so only these 3 are the possible characters you can enter. Either Y is mandatory, R is a recommendation, N is not a mandatory. Okay. And alphabets. If you should have at least a single alphabet, you can use alphabet. Okay. Mixed case. If mixed case is allowed, you can have a mixed case. Like this. Okay. Now, okay, if we set these many restrictions, okay, it will be difficult. Okay, let us see. Okay, so we have set all the parameters for passwords and the general parameters, and now I'm trying to create the profile. So just click on the create button. See, this is the actual SQL which is going to be executed. Create profile, profile name as the spool space, the temporary space, and the account name, okay, default database, and all the password restrictions. Now execute it. So profile creation completed. Okay. Okay, so profile is created, but we didn't align it to the any user. So before we align, we will log in with that user here and see. I'm just disconnecting. I am connecting with the first user to whom I will be aligning that particular profile. First DSN which we have created yesterday. Oh, not this one. DSN first user. It is also for the first user, but still. So as we have created new DSN for the first user, yesterday we will use the same DSN first user. Okay. So to see all session parameters, what is the command? Help session, and I would like to see all the session related parameters. So for the first user, the height is the account name, and default database is this, so and so. Everything is there. Okay. So now I am trying to align the profile to the first user. Okay. To the existing user also can assign the profile, or while you are creating the new user, you can specify the profile name. It's not displayed here. Why? You have to refresh it. F5 to refresh the tool to fetch the new information from the DBC. So tools, while you are creating the user, you can set a profile, first profile. Or if you want to set it to the existing user, either you can do administer profiles, select the profile. Okay. It gives you what is our profile, profile 1, right? Profile 1 created right now, and you can select the users who has to be added to the profile. First user I am assigning to the profile 1. Okay, assign. Or you can select the user, modify the user, and you can select here. Okay. There I have already added in the administrator profiles, that's where it is showing here. Otherwise, okay, what we can do, we can modify user and select the profile here for the existing users, then modify. It will show. Okay. In two ways you can align the profile to the existing users, and whenever you want to create a new user, and if you want to align the profile, you can select the profile name in the profile parameters. Okay, so now we have the user aligned to this profile. And now I would like to see the session. See, as the session related parameters are changed, now it is not able to get the data. So let us log in again. Again, I am logging in with the same DSN first user, okay, which has the profile set now with the different parameters. Okay. So now let us see what is his default database. Change it to retail. Okay. Help session. See, his account ID got medium priority now, and his current database is changed from samples to retail. So which one has taken priority? Are the parameters which we specify at the time of user creation, or the parameters which we set to the profile and the profile is aligned to the user? Okay, so which parameters, the profile parameters or the user parameters, are taking precedence here? Can anyone?
Profile parameters.
Okay, so the profile parameters are overriding the individual user parameters. Okay, so you can set all these parameters at the user level also when the time of user creation, but when you align the profile parameters will take precedence. Okay, and here I am just making my default database as financial. Okay. So if I make my database as financial in this session, and if I select again the session information that with the help session, what would be our retail, what would be our default database? Is it samples or retail or financial? When it executes successfully, what would be my default database? I guess.
Should we retail, I think?
Any other answers?
Financial.
Okay, good. So what is the precedence then you feel?
By default, it's a retail, but if you execute, then it's going to be financial.
Okay, so yes.
If you execute database name, then it's going to be.
Yeah, so at the session level, we are trying to change our database. So the session level parameters are first priority. Okay, whatever account, whatever database, okay, whatever space, everything. Okay, when you set in this session, the session level parameters, whatever you set, are taking the precedence, and the next precedence will be given to the profile, and the next preference will be given to the user. Okay, so this is the order of the parameters, okay, what we use for the users during their sessions. Yeah, and one more thing we have to observe is, just a moment. Okay, one more thing you have to observe is the spool space and temp space will be automatically affected immediately to all the users, whoever, even though they already logged on. Okay, so let's suppose the first user is already logged on, and I have changed this profile here for the first user. Okay, I have changed the profile. The spool space and the temp space limits will take impact immediately. Okay, they will be affected immediately, even they are logged in and they are firing some SQLs in the sessions. But the account ID, the default database, the password restrictions, all these parameters will be in effect during the next logon. Okay, the space related parameters will be impacted very immediately at the moment when you assign it, but the rest of the parameters like account ID, database, and the password restrictions will be impacted or will be taken into effect while you are logging into the system next time. Yeah. Any questions?
So when we close the session, the default database will be again retail for this user?
Yes. Okay. So when I set the database as financially in this session, for that session it is financial. But when I again relog in, the profile default database will be taken into effect, and if you execute help session again, it will show you the retail. So
Okay.
I would like to show that, but somehow it is DSL first user. Okay, so if I log in again, what would be my default database?
Retail?
Retail. Because it is aligned in the profile and we didn't set anything in the session. Okay. So help session. It's again retail and the medium priority, which are the profile parameters what we set. Okay. Now I want to drop this profile. How I can drop it? Administer profile. Select the profile one and drop it. I can drop it here. So you want to drop? Yes. I'm dropping it. And now if I see the session, maybe it will struck now, as we are changing the differences. Now let us relog in and see. Now what will be the default database? I have dropped the profile, but I didn't remove the profile from the user. If you observe, the user currently have the profile, but I dropped the profile. What happens now? As we are logging in again, it has to take the user parameters because the profile is not there. It will try to see what is the profile aligned during the logon, and it will try to fetch all the profile parameters. As we drop the profile, it will try to see the profile parameters, but as there are no profiles with the name profile one exist, it will get the user level parameters. See, again it reset to the user level parameters, but it won't throw an error even the profile which is aligned to the user is not exist. See, the first user is still aligned with the profile. Oh, profile name is dropped, but we no need to drop it manually. Maybe okay, the profile is not there. We no need to drop it manually. You will try to see and get it. Okay, what I know, if I create the profile again with the same name and give the parameters, it will be automatically taken to the first user. Okay. That is how it works. If I create the profile, the same name again, the first profile, all these parameters will be automatically taken into the first user. So we'll see that. See, all the things are mentioned here. You can see. So these things we have seen how to see, how to implement the profile. You have to have the access first, and then you can create the profile, and while creation of the users, set the profiles. And then how the profiles will impact the users. So profile definitions apply to every assigned user, overriding specifications at the user level. However, any profile definition can be null or none. And when we assign the profile to the user, it will take the impact of the profile. How the profile parameters will take into impact? The spool and temporary space allocations are imposed immediately, and password attributes and the account ID, everything will be taken into effect when the next logon occurs. Or during the session, if you want to change your session accounts or the default database, you can set with the session commands. Okay. So whatever we do, okay, so there are three levels. At the user level you can set, at the profile level, and at the session level. So what is the order of precedence? Whatever are specified at the session level will take precedence, and the parameters specified at the profile, the next priority, and then the parameters which are specified at the user level or modify user level. When you modify the user for parameters, and if it doesn't have any profile or we don't set any parameters at the session level, then only the user level parameters will take into effect. And these are the password attributes, when it will be expired, minimum characters, maximum characters, what are the possible characters, and options, what are the possible options. Restrict words. Okay, so there will be a table called dbc.password restrictions. In this table you can insert data. Okay. Whatever words you insert into this password restrictions, these words you cannot use as passwords when this restrict password is set to Y. All this is introduced from Teradata 12 onwards. And if you want to remove some of the words from this, you can use the delete statement on this password restrictions so that you can remove them. So the restriction will be removed to use that word as the password. So we want to see DBC password restrictions. Okay, to see this, we have to log in as the admin, or you can see in administrator. Could be easy. See all the tables in DBC. What's the name? Password restrictions. Password restrictions. See the data. Just double click. So it is a definition. browse. The browse gives the data. There is only one column. You see the definition? There is only one column, and whatever data exists in these columns, those things you cannot use them as passwords. See, 2003-12 words are there default. This column we want to select. So these are the words. You cannot use these words as passwords. If I make my password restriction as just there in the parameter. Okay. And these are some snapshots to give you is how we will create the profile. This is the general tab, what parameters we generally put, and this is the password tab, what parameters we generally change. And this is the SQL which has to be executed. Just given in the administrator, use tools, administrator profile. So you just start your exercise, just create a profile and align it to the user and see how it is impacting. And when you drop profile, what happens? When you log in again, the spool and temp space immediately will be taken into effect. The user level parameters will be taken into effect, and the accounts and databases will be taken at the next logon time. And users may only explicitly change to an account the list of account IDs available to them. Okay, while creation of the user, you can give different account IDs. The first one would be his default, and he can use the set account command to activate any of his possible accounts which were aligned at the time of user creation. Right? So that once the profile is dropped, the default account ID will be taken into effect at the user level. But if you want to change into the possible account IDs which were assigned to the user, you can use a session command, set account ID command. Then the effect of recreating a profile with the same name as the dropped profile are not immediate. The parameter setting in the recreated profile take effect the next time the user log on. Okay, so basically what we have to remember is the space related changes will be taken into impact when you create the profile or when you drop the profile, when this profile is already aligned to the user. And the passwords, the password settings and accounts and database will be taken into impact when the user next log on. Okay, after the change happen. Change means the create profile or drop profile or aligning the profile to the existing users. Whatever change happen, the impacts of the parameters will be categorized into two, the space parameters and the remaining parameters. Space will be impacted immediately, whatever the changes, and the other parameters will be taken into impact when they re-log in after the change. Any questions, anyone? Good. So these are some miscellaneous SQLs what you can use with the roles. Select user, role, profile and database, which will show you the corresponding details in this session. What is the user you logged in with, and what is the role activated, what is the profile of this current session, what is the current default database. And the profile info X means exclusive version, where it will show you only your own details. So it would show you the profile information. If you want to see the account level informations, you can use the account info, where it will show you the accounts aligned with the each user, and it will show you whether it is a user or profile. You can try this dbc.profileInfo. Profile info X. As I logged in as DBC, it will show you all the DBC related profiles if it aligned with any. This is the first user. Okay, we dropped the profiles and we changed it, right? So we have to restart. Yes, there are no profiles aligned to this. To see all the profiles, viewers, all the profiles, whatever we have created, we have dropped our profile, so it's not showing. Otherwise, it will show the profile related information. What is the default account ID, database, space, expiry, goods. Like this, you can use data dictionary views to track and to identify the properties of the profiles. Similarly, the accounts. Okay. So we'll see another small topic, system accesses. So here in this topic, it is to specify how secure and how many levels of security it exists for the Teradata servers. So here in this diagram, if you see, the data exists here, and to access this data, we have these many of layers. The first layer is the physical security. That means the room in which you place, and that is secured with the authentications and the ID cards, and all the possible authentications. And then to log on to the machines, we have a host logon process. And once you log on to the host, you are not supposed to access all the databases. Sorry. Okay. So we have a database level logon processing again. And once you log on to the required databases, you are not supposed to access all the objects. You have to have certain privileges on the objects, okay, whether you can create or whether you can only select or whether you can write the data. So all those privileges you have to have before you actually access the objects. And then even after having privileges, you may not be accessing the objects directly. When I say directly, the tables. Okay, you cannot access the data through tables, but there is one more level of protection what we can give is through views, macros, and stored procedures, where they can restrict the access on the direct objects, but they can do the specified restricted operations through the views, macros, and stored procedures. And then finally you will access the data either for write purpose or read purpose. So these are the different levels of system securities what we can have for Teradata machines. It may be true for all the other RDBMS also, but here, okay, Teradata also follows the same structured way of protecting the data on the servers. And in the system logons, we generally support the Teradata Corporation associates in terms of the upgrades or the patch installations happen on the Teradata servers. Okay, for example, okay, so we are migrating from Teradata 12 to 13, for example. Okay, so during that patch or during the upgrade, the Teradata associates will come. Okay, there will be one or two associates which are with the client machines. They are also employees of Teradata but work on the client machines there. Okay, so they will do the patch upgrades with the help of sysdbs, and the sysdbs will work with the application DBAs in order to get no one should log on to the machines during the process. Okay, so when they give the dates and times when this upgrade would happen, okay, probably it would happen weekends. Okay, so they will give you the dates. Okay, so no application user should not log on during that period. So that is instruction is given to the application DBS, let's suppose. And then what the application DBS will do? They will send the bulletins to the users. Okay, so this is what the upgrade is going to take place during this weekend, and you should not log on. Okay, before 1 week or 2 weeks they will send a bulletin, and then on the day they will try to revoke all the logons, so that even we try to log on, it will restrict. Okay, we cannot log on. Okay, so to make this happen, what we can do, we have to provide, okay, as a super DBA we have to provide the accesses on to the application DBAs to either grant the logons and revoke the logons. Okay. So if you grant execute on the dbc.logon rules macro, who does this? You observe, who does this operation? To sysdba. Any guess? Grant execute on dbc logon to sysdba. Who can do that?
Teradata DBC user.
DBC. The DBC, the super user, will give access of execute to the sysdba, and then if you give with grant options, then he can grant it to the application DBS, and then application DBS can use this grant logon command to grant logons or to revoke logons. You see, if I give a grant logon on the host name to the user, then if they try to log on, they can successfully log on. If I execute a command revoke logon, then the user cannot log on. It will give a error message. User rights to log on has been revoked. So at a particular moment, if you want to restrict a group of users not to log on to the machine, you have to have some accesses, grant logon accesses, so that you can control the users log on at that particular moment. And once the upgrade happens, then again you will grant the logons to all the users so that everyone can re-log in again. So there are some system views what you can try. Okay, fine, then we'll continue tomorrow.
No,
The security process. Yeah, tell me.
no, I have one question. So when the Teradata execute comes, do we create any features usable for them, or they can use our sysdba as log on?
The user IDs were asking
Yeah.
for Teradata. Okay, they have the default user IDs. Teradata field engineer is the user ID for them, which is configured along with the DBC. So they will use the FEs, the field engineer user IDs, to log on to the machine, and they will do the trackings.
They cannot use our DBC password and
No,
user
no,
ID,
DBC
right?
no one can use until unless we give them the permission. Because DBC, once it is given to the organization, it will be with our super DBS in the organization. If they require it, and if you give them, they can have. Otherwise, you can reset the password and keep it for you only. They have their own passwords.
So usually, who is the super DBA in the organization? Is the DBA itself, or
The DBA, or maybe the CTOs can also be holding this Teradata passwords or DBC passwords.
or
The chief
DBC?
technology officers or the super DBA. If we have only the DBA as in the managerial roles, also higher management roles, then he has the authority to keep that. So probably 2 or 3 people in the entire organizations will hold this DBC password.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, no problem. Fine then. So let us be on the line. Yeah, I will. Let me check if Kapil is there.